किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है, वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी। ये एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानकुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। धरती और सातवें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा है। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया।
Good afternoon, friends. A very warm welcome to our Business Opportunity Over Chai. And this special edition Business Opportunity Over Chai will help you to understand the greatest business opportunity that we Franchise India specially brings for you. Business Opportunity Over Chai presented by management team of Franchise India, Mr. Gaurav Maria, Chairman at Franchise India Group, and Ms. Sonia Chaudhary, MD at Franchise India Brands Limited. Every day, 12 o'clock, we'll launch a new brand to explore new business opportunities. So today we have invited a great brand called Tresmode. Tresmode was founded November 2007. Ever since its inception, Tresmode has strived to prove its customer with a complete lifestyle and fashion experience. As a brand, it's not only aimed to bring the latest trends in footwear to you, but also help you to discover your signature style. So to know more about this business opportunity, we have invited the team of Tresmode, Mr. Gagan Chaudhary, CFO, Mr. Kapil Matani, the director of Tresmode. Before I inviting the team of Tresmode, I would like to invite Sonia ma'am on the platform. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Harshika. And friends, a very good afternoon to all of you. I also take this opportunity of welcoming the panel, Kapilji and Gaganji, on this webinar. And friends, just to maybe add on, I would also say the company or the brand Tresmode is a brand which is synonymous today with uber chic footwear. The company which was launched in 2007 with their first store in Bombay. And today is positioned to target and also service a very well-traveled and cosmopolitan consumer base. They have been operating exclusive brand outlets and also have an omni-channel presence through their own platform and also at other LFRs. And they're looking at partnering with like-minded people. And also there's certain locations also which the company is speaking to in some of the leading malls, high street, and also airport, which would also be supported by the company. It's a very interesting model where the entire operations are taken care by the company. And as a franchise partner, if you bring in some kind of a strategic fitment in terms of, I would say, investment, and also if there's a location which you have an access and relevant to the business that we are talking about, we would be happy to perhaps take that one-to-one. I'll also request Kapilji, before we start with the formal presentation, if you also want to give a little understanding and, all these last 15 years for you and the journey of your brand, how it has been, and also, how you've seen the overall market of footwear evolve in these last a decade and a half.
Thank you, Sonia ji. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to share with you my whole journey so far and how it's come along and what we see the future. So I entered into the footwear retail market in 2007. It was a very different market. The way people dressed was very different. The way people spoke was very different. The bridge to luxury didn't exist as a segment. You either had Uber Eats. Not too long ago, 90% of India's wealth was held with 10 families, right? So that's how small luxury was. And either you were in luxury or you were mass. There was nothing in between. This journey since 2004, we've seen a lot of wealth that has been created. And along with wealth has come a lot more exposure, because a young India that we cater to has now been exposed. They've been well educated. We've got one of the most thriving education institutions in the country, which has enabled them to, get into a position of good disposable incomes. And this youth is now empowered to travel, to be exposed to what's happening in the Western counterparts. They're no different from anyone you'd go and see in the West. The way they dress, the way they talk will come up to date. Disposable income is available. And the best part is, in a country like ours, a lot of the income which goes towards housing is saved, and it adds to disposable income. That gives them the opportunity to spend a lot more on things, which is dressing, celebrating. Why I talk about celebrating is because, wedding season is one of the biggest catalysts to consumption in the country. And that's where a lot of shoes get consumed. In India today, the per capita consumption is below 1.9. The segment we talk to probably is at 2.5. We're talking to the bridge to luxury segment, 2.5 a year. But there have been reports which indicate that this segment could go to 4 to 5 pairs per year, which is nearly 2x. Which is nearly 2x of which is nearly 2x of what currently exists. So not only is the consumer going to buy 2 times more than what they're consuming, but in addition to that, that segment is also ballooning. So we are talking about a huge potential, a huge exponential potential that is unfolding, very different to what I saw it in 2007 when I started. So I personally believe 2007 to 2022, 15 years, was a process of learning how to execute. And I think if you've planned execution correct, then once you execute, success comes naturally. We believe today we are in the potential of catering to all the youth in that bridge to luxury. When I talk youth, I don't necessarily mean youth by age, I mean youth by mindset, because today you find 45 and 50 years also who are dressing like the youth, who are being, influenced by the youth mindsets. Absolutely. And that's where social media is playing a great role. So I think we are ready to take on that journey today. We've had our set of learnings, what work, what don't work. We've adapted the model to the segment we spoke about, and we're ready to expand right now. So Neji, I hope
Absolutely. That. Yes, Kapilji, I think you've put it very, very sharply and to the point. And friends, I'll also request all of you, whatever questions you have, because I was seeing some of you are raising your hands. So as we start the presentation, any questions that you have on the business format, I'll request all of you to keep writing in the Q&A box. While we would reply, we'll also take all your questions live after we conclude the presentation. So Kapilji, over to you. Gaganji, if you want to maybe start our presentation.
Yeah, so are you putting the presentation on the screen? Hello?
Harshika, you have access to the presentation?
Okay, let me have.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. My name is Gagan Chaudhary. I am a CFO in Tresmode. We have been working various strategy, and this is one of such strategy where our brand, which has got very good recognition in the online and offline space, now we are in a position to expand it further and take it to the other metro cities and major locations. Yeah, go to next slide, please. Yeah, so as already explained, currently we are having about 8 EBO stores, and which is in airport, high street, as well as in malls. And we are present in Mumbai airport, we are present in Hyderabad airport, and Phoenix in Mumbai, Saket in Delhi. So these are the major locations. And apart from that, we also have a presence in ShoppersStop, Lifestyle, and we do sell from Amazon and through our own website. So, our USP is basically our design and the kind of premiumness we give to the customer. So that is very much appreciated by our users, our customers. These are few samples of our stores, and if you see, we have men's and women's predominantly shoes, and option wise, you get plenty of options in both the categories. So yeah, our design quality, we have already explained, and services part is also taken care. So see, Kapil, you want to take this regarding our product?
So I'll give you a little brief on, where what our belief system is and what our strengths really stem from, right? So we have always believed that let the product be the hero, and that's silence.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we've always believed that let the product be the hero, and that's where the brand will be built from, because it's word of mouth which has the most impactful brand building ability rather than us selling through marketing. And that's what we followed from day one. That's the reason we've been able to grow. We've not spent too much money on marketing. However, the marketing has been very glamorous, is because people were attracted to the brand. Influencers were attracted, celebrities were attracted. So naturally what happened is they were wearing the product, and the brand has been formed product facing. So product being the hero has always been the strategy. Now, to make product the hero, it's always challenging because you always have to beat yesterday. And if you don't beat your yesterday, there's someone else coming to beat it. Now, when it comes to product being hero, the products has to be looking phenomenally good, because today we're living in a world where if it's Instagrammable, it'll sell. And to be Instagrammable, it's got to look phenomenal. It's got to have that quirky feel to it. However, that lasts only for 10 minutes. Beyond that, it's got to be comfortable, because after that, if it's not comfortable, the person is never going to come back to you. So we work very strongly on comforts and fits. So before we actually put a shoe into production, it goes through 10 or 15 rounds of corrections between the factory and the technical team to ensure that the comfort is second to none, as good as any of the international shoes you'll come across. And the fit also matches an international product by, it should be second to none in short. Third is, when we go into it, we look at durability. Durability, again, depending on the price point we're selling a product, we sell some shoes at 35 and 50,000 rupees, but that's 1% of our sales. Those shoes never break, right? They will last you for 10 years. But we don't expect a shoe which we sell at 3,000 rupees to have the same durability. The shoes we sell at 3,000 rupees come into the fast fashion category. And for that, the consumer wants something affordable so they can keep replacing the shoes as time goes by. And that's why we even compromise a bit on durability and ensure that at least it gets you through a year. So fast fashion is technically one season. Today, we have about 3 to 4 seasons in a year. It's no more 2 seasons. But however, we ensure a year is covered. So when a person buys it, it shouldn't be they threw it because it broke. It should be that they gave it away or they don't use it because the season has changed and they want something new. So they're upgrading the fashion. It's not like the shoe is not able to service it. So we cover these 3 very, very stringently. First, it should be looking great, Instagrammable, in line with international fashion. Second, it should be very comfortable. It should give you the feel. Second, to know international brand. And third, the durability should be there. And to achieve all of this, the materials play a very important role, because if the materials are right and the finishes are right, we'll achieve it. So then we go backwards and we work very strongly with the suppliers on material management, material development, textures of finishes, the finishing that goes into it. Most of these shoes, pre-COVID, about 90% came from imported sources. Today, 60-70% come from India, right? But the product may be made in India, but 90% of the finishes that go onto them come from international sources. So you wear an Indian product, but it looks as good as anything manufactured in other parts of the world. So that's the whole idea in terms of the product when we work on. And people being aware, consumers being aware, when you're catering to, an affluent consumer, you have to ensure that you are meeting their requirement, because they're not going to sacrifice, they're not going to compromise. We've seen that the consumer is becoming more and more, as choices come up, they're getting more and more choosy, and they're not settling for anything other than the best. Last but not least, we try to make sure the whole shopping becomes an experience, not just a product. So it's the way you walk into the store, the way you feel about it, because if you feel wowed when you've worn it for the first time, that same feeling would subconsciously come into your mind when you wear it the next time. So we try to impart a great experience so the wow factor remains. So people enjoy, subconsciously enjoy, and they look forward to wearing the new pairs of Tresmode. So that's how we work on the whole experience, from product development to the final sale. Can we go to the next slide, please? I covered the whole thing. This is just shoot offs to ensuring what we spoke about can be maintained, from style assistant at the store, the product information, personalization. So a lot of people, you'll be surprised when consumers go out to buy, they don't know what to buy. So they need genuine advice as to what the need is mapped with. So first, there is a need mapping at the store that happens. And then post that, a personalization of the need mapping to see which color would suit you best, which product would suit you best. In textiles, you would have heard the term silhouette. In footwear, we don't have the silhouette, but we have last shapes, and you'll know which last shapes suits your personality. If you're a little bigger built, then taking a very narrow last may not look best on you, because it'll look a little out of proportion, and vice versa. So getting into product information, personalization, sizing. A lot of people surprisingly buy a wrong size most of the times. So we help them with the sizing assistance. Packaging, we try to work on making it exciting. So when you go home and open it, the excitement comes along with you. It doesn't end at the store. The online delivery. So someone at the airport store says that, listen, I don't want to carry it home with me. No problem. We'll ship it to you. We're working towards an omni-channel approach, all 360 degrees. The replacement policy comes in depending on the product, and of course the experience that is imparted. So that is the entire experience that's imparted as we go across. Next slide, please. We spoke about India moving to organized, and people are urbanizing, people are premiumizing. So we in a great space today. Can we go to the next slide, please? So there's some data, the data points of how India is growing, how the GDP is growing, and how consumption is going to grow. We probably, in terms of the GDP growth rate, one of the fastest in the world. And I think this trend would remain at least for the next 5 to 10 years. Can we go to the next one, please? We've all heard about the 10 trillion economy our ministers have been talking about, and it seems to be getting to a state of reality. And the closer and the faster we get to that, the quicker the consumption will scale up, and premiumization of the consumer will scale up, because wealth will be created internally. When wealth is created, people go out and spend. Next one, please. You can see the changing consumption patterns on this slide. It's talking about the rising influence percentage, the emerging cities, how they are growing. Not only emerging, tier 1 is also contributing a great extent. So I think that is the real opportunity that lies there, because it's underserviced today. And as you know, everyone's going to nuclear households. That technically means that, kids aren't necessarily providing for the whole household. That gives them a lot more disposable income to go and splurge. There's independence in their decision making. So a lot changing in the consumption space and the consumer behavior. Can we go to the next one, please? You can see the potential that's there. This is for the entire market, but don't forget the market's got good, average, and bad. We're talking about a segment which is growing exponentially, which is, the bridge to luxury, not luxury, because luxury will always be constrained. India is always going to be value driven. We're talking about bridge to luxury, and we see huge upgrading happening out there. So 12.83 is a CAGR across the board. We could be talking about a 20 to 25% CAGR going forward for the segment we're talking about. Next, please. Out there, you can see this is just some data of, how footwear industry in the retail, Indian retail industry have played out, what percentage. Next, please. This is the industry dynamics, right? So you've got your traditional, your organized, and online. Today, organized is going to probably get huge shift from your unorganized sector because, a lot of initiatives have happened from demonetization to, COVID, which has really shifted the change in the way people used money. People are also understanding it's important to, show official stuff. So they become bankable. And these dynamics are changing the way spends are happening. And since spends are changing, then they're going to the more organized space. And that's going to give us a big benefit because we're in the 100% organized retail space, online and offline both. Next, please. Yeah, so this is again some data statistics on the pairs sold worldly on the world basis, the rank and so on. So if you go to see, the Indian population is expected to go up to a considerable amount, right, in urban areas. By 2030, 40% of India is going to be urbanized. And if that happens, organized retail benefits. If that happens, premiumization benefits. And that is going to directly impact sales of brands like ours positively. Next, please. You can see the industry evolution. It goes from unorganized to organized to specialized to personalized, right? And that's what we've been talking about all this while. And we are set to take maximum benefit of that today because we're in the organized, specialized space. Next one, please. The Indian footwear dynamics. We've spoken about all of this. So, in the interest of time, we could probably skip this and move ahead because we already covered all of this. Yeah, like we already spoke about, the consumers moving up, but premiumization, urbanization, buying more and buying better. Next, please. Yeah, this is India is the second largest population base and it's one of the youngest nations. The youth are who spend generally, the urban are who spend generally, and both these work in our favor. Next, please. So private consumption is working well for the retail market. This is some data out there. You can see how this is 2030 on the orange, gray is 26. The dark orange is 2020 and it's 2019. So you can see how the size of each market has really changed. If you see lifestyle per se is one of the places we're looking at, was 48 in 2019, but that's expected to go to 124, which is nearly 3x by 2030. So we're talking about nearly 3x growth in about 10 to 11 years. So there's a huge opportunity playing up out there. Next, please. So technically, there's a lot going for India right now and a lot which is stemming this growth, and it's probably going to go on for nearly a decade or two. So we're in a good space right now. And this is just some data out there which is, supporting these facts as to what's making it happen. So it's pretty self-explanatory. So we'll probably go to the next slide, please. And this is, the next one, please. This is the expansion plans. So if you see why franchising, right? So what we saw is the period from 2015 to 2022. I'm saying 22 and not 23 because we see the online probably slowing down now. We saw a huge consumption shift happening from offline to online. One of the reasons were, tier 1, tier 2 cities in India always had a lot of wealth, and awareness had also crept in. Dynamics to consumer had crept in. The disposable income was going up, younger population was buying, and so on. But there was no organized retail space for them to buy. And that gave the benefit to the online space, where they came in and started buying from the online space, as they had no retail markets within their cities. However, now we've seen these tier 1, tier 2 have got many malls in the pipeline, many organized retail destinations coming in. If you go to see, Indore's got a new mall come up, which is fairly large. Ahmedabad's got one of the Palladium malls come up, which is fairly large. And Lucknow got 2 or 3 large malls which came up from 2019 to 2023. So lack of real estate, I'd say quality real estate, was one of the biggest constraints for the growth of the industry. The biggest constraints now being sorted out means the opportunity comes back to offline. However, what we've seen is, to scale up offline, either you need to be very patient and take very long, or you need to create a game of partnership, right? And that's where we said that franchisee could be a win-win solution, where, you partner with people and then you'll cumulatively use resources to grow. And that's the reason why we look at it as a positive thing. Now, why us? So we spoke about the opportunity with the real estate coming in, with the people consuming, but why us? Because unlike all the other brands, we've got a fairly large portfolio of SKUs to the segment we're talking about. It's not a family store. It is to the new age consumer. Then you've got product in the market which has been there, and the brand which is fairly strong and created over years, right? Then our strength has always been our product, and even today it's been our product. So we've got the ability to innovate and pivot with the market as they change, because we control the whole supply chain. We're not dependent on a franchisee or whatever. We own the brand. We control the supply chain. Our price points are consumer first set. So we work backwards from the consumer's affordability, and then we create products on that and ensure the prices are competitive. We're not the cheapest. We're the most competitive, because cheapest doesn't necessarily give you great value for money, because you won't get the quality. And the gross margins allow us to share with franchisees to create a win-win profitable business, which we can grow with that. Weakness is the biggest opportunity. Our weakness is we don't have stores in small cities. We've got only in 2 big cities, 3 big cities. So that becomes the opportunity, because through a partnership, we can grow it to all cities, right? Then what is the opportunities? The market, the footwear market we spoke about, is growing very fast. The per capita consumption is also going up. And the segment we're catering to is growing exponentially within the segment of the whole footwear market. We could look at, adding on handbags, which we had done previously. We don't do that now. So as markets grow up, we get scale, we can add handbags and, wallets and other accessories, which can, just shoot up, it can add 30-40% revenue. And if we add 30%, 40% revenue to the stores, we're talking about a huge win-win or huge takeaway for all partners involved, including the franchisee. And modern trade, we spoke about it, everything getting organized. The threats are competition, but I think over the last 15 years, we've built a moat. A moat is the understanding of the consumer, understanding of the market. And more than that is the supply chain. It's very easy for someone to say, I'll jump into it. But, to really go out there and get the supply right is the biggest challenge. There have been many exporters who've jumped into it and all have exited in the next 2-3 years. So it's not an easy market to really understand, because you need years of understanding the consumer, years of experience of understanding how they spend and what they buy. So that's the biggest moat we have today, and the brand, of course. And these two would probably keep us ahead of the threats we spoke about. So yeah, so that's technically the SWOT we just covered right now. So if we can move on, please. This is a little details on the franchisee model.
I'll take this up.
Sure.
Yeah, so we were discussing about the strategy to be created for our franchisee model. And since we have presence across airports, high streets, and malls, so the best thing which we designed is to create a win-win proposition where, we initially offer a good opportunity to the investor. And our model which we are looking for is basically franchisee owned and company operated, or you can say franchisee invested and company operated. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I was explaining this, franchisee owned and company operated. So this will give you an idea who does the investment, who does the operation, expenses incurred by whom, and the profit sharing and the fixed payout is also given. Next one. Yeah, so ideal profile partner. So see, as we have mentioned that we are looking for franchisee invested and company managed. So we are looking for investor basically whom we can give a minimum guaranteed return and also an upside. In the coming slide, we will be discussing the projections and all. And the projections we have done at a very conservative level, and through your investment you can earn a CAGR of about 17 to 20%. Next one. So individual who can invest, individual who has the experience of retail industry, and they have sufficient bandwidth in order to fund our expansion plan. So this has been explained by Kapil in very detailed why somebody should invest in us. So go to next, please. Now, these are things which we will be discussing as we go on. Franchisee support function. So, site selection, interior design, architecture. So once we agree to the terms and condition, we will let you know how that model will work, how, the entire process from signing the agreement to the launch of the store that will be done. So that part we will discuss over a period of time. Next one, please. So as we said, reason to invest, you get a good opportunity with a minimum guaranteed return. So which is, in the current market scenario, the best return one would expect. Next one. Yeah, so see, this is a slide which we have designed, and this offers three categories: the airport store, high street, and malls. The investment and the per square feet, around 700 to 800 square feet we look for. And the investment in airport is about 1.5 lakh, and high street and mall is about 75 lakhs. There is a franchisee fees of about 3 lakhs. We give minimum guarantee of 12% on the total investment. So suppose you are investing 75 lakh rupees, you get minimum 75,000 rupees per month. But there is an upside, which is revenue share. So you can get about 7% of the revenue share in case of mall and high street, and 5% in case of airport, which is always, while doing the projections, we found that every month you will get revenue share, and there won't be, hardly any month where we'll have to pay the minimum guarantee. So upside potential is definitely there. And cumulative ROI, in a model where you don't have to do anything, you just have to invest, you are getting a ROI of about 20%, 188%. So which is, according to us, an excellent number, and with a break even of about 2 to 3 years in all of these segments. And we will do a 5-year agreement to start with. Next slide, please. So this one, can somebody from Franchisee India take this slide?
This we can omit. This can be discussed one-to-one with any investor. This is typically the approach that we are following in terms of selection of partners. So this need not be discussed at this point in time.
Okay, go to next slide, please. this is also roll out. So go next one, please. These
I
are
can
some of
explain this, Gaganji, and friends, what we're looking at is, and there are four fits that we take into consideration for selecting of a partner, which typically would mean if you have a strategic location, right? So while we don't need your involvement in day-to-day business, but somebody who can have an access to a great location is somebody we would consider as a good profile. As far as operational fit is concerned, the entire operations are taken care by the company. So this fitment is currently not required from the investor point of view, as the operational involvement day-to-day is something which the company would take care of. Third, obviously, is market fit. Market fit means the location, cities where the company is looking at opening. And we're looking at the top, I would say, state capitals, as we discussed even yesterday, and including even locations like airports and some of the leading malls, which the company is already in discussion with. So if I talk about cities like Hyderabad, Bangalore, Delhi NCR, Chandigarh, and even Lucknow, they're already in touch with some of the top malls in the country, and they would be able to support you in getting these locations. And lastly is financial fit, which means your capability to invest in the opportunity. So these four become prime fits, where some of them would be taken care by the company, like operations, and also maybe support in the location if you don't have an access to. And most importantly is the investment which is required by a franchise partner, which in our case becomes a top priority for us. Over to you, Gaganji.
Yeah, next slide, please. So this will start, the due diligence process and all. So once we agree, then these things will come into picture, where we'll have various formal sign up of the agreements and the expected ROI and some of the things we have already explained you while designing our strategy. We have offered what we have offered. So that is in nutshell. Next slide, please. So again, it is the same due diligence process, setup and training we will provide. Since we are talking about the franchisee owned and company operated, so here the role of franchisee will not come into the day-to-day operation, and the training and other thing will not required initially, because it is our people who will be running the operation. So that we will discuss as and when we are operationalize this model. Go to next. So as I told you, training is not very much required in the current model. Next. So we are always available. See, in today's meet and apart from today, if anybody has any question and anybody wants to discuss, you can approach us, and we are happy to help you out in sorting your queries and to give you the best possible option. Yeah, so this is from our side. So now floor is open for the question answer. Anybody has any question, we'll just take that up.
Sure. Thank you so much, Gaganji. And friends, I'll request you can put any questions that you have, and we'll start taking up the queries. And quickly to recap the opportunity. If you look at the overall footwear market in India, it is currently under-penetrated, I would say, in terms of per capita, which Kapilji also mentioned, where our consumption, against the global is almost about, 3 pairs is the global average of per capita consumption. India is almost about 1.7 to 9. And if we talk about developed countries, the average is around 6 to 7, pairs a year. So obviously, there's a big opportunity, in this category. Second, I would on the brand say the company, the brand enjoys a very great brand equity. And if you look at any investors, investment in any opportunity or a brand, the top criteria which affects their choice of investment is obviously the credentials of the company, the credibility of the promoters, which is always as a top investor mindset when they want to look at any opportunity. And they already have a prototype which is successful, which is proven. It is a bridge to luxury brand, which has been explained by Kapilji. And if we have to, understand the mathematics for a bridge to luxury, comparative with the per square feet, sales for a bridge to luxury is higher than the others, and comparatively your break even is also faster. And I also heard Kapilji talk about the per square feet efficiency of their store, and which I will also take it up separately. They have been running in some of the high streets and malls, which they even outperform some of their peers, or some maybe apple to apple and apple to orange comparison that we would do, and some other brands in the same similar category or industry. Then one big reason why companies consider a franchisee-owned company operated or a franchisee invested company operated model is that they want to ensure that the last mile experience to the end consumer is not diluted. So in this case, Tresmode is wanting to control the entire experience which their consumer is experiencing when they come to an outlet, and maybe have a seamless experience through all the channels. And that is the reason they're offering a franchisee-owned company-operated model. Primarily, we're looking at 3 odd locations, which includes obviously airports. We have high streets and malls. And the area across all these 3 formats would remain consistent to about 700 square feet of space. Now, the company is also de-risking the investment which is made by a franchise partner by way of giving a minimum guarantee on the entire investment which is being made. And the second is a revenue share. So there's a revenue share percentage which a franchisee would get, or a minimum guarantee. And in all possibilities, based on the experience and also the sales which their existing locations are doing, your revenue share would be a higher percentage. But just to ensure that a franchise partner is also guaranteed some kind of return, there's a 12% which a franchisee would get on the overall investment. So we'll take that ahead and do a little discussion on that. And Gaganji, if you want to perhaps, first and foremost, give us an understanding on the overall breakup. If you talk about an investment of say 75 odd lakhs, and also investment of 1.5, which goes for an airport, I assume, because airport would have a higher deposit. But broadly, if we can break that down and say, this is the overall inventory that goes in, typical capex that goes in the outlet, and other areas, which you think are important to be highlighted in that investment.
Yeah, so before I go to the breakup, I would want to add that if anyone wants to see our product, they can go to our website and see, our online presence is about 20%. So all the products are listed on the website. That will give you a very good idea about the product range which we offer. Now, when it comes to the cost breakup, so I will talk about the high street and the malls. So in this 75 lakh rupees of investment, basically there are 3 major components. One is the capex part, where the redoing the store, and second is the deposit part, which is about 6 months of rent as a deposit. And lastly, we have the inventory, which is if I give you approximate breakup, it is 20 lakh rupees worth of inventory. It is about 30 lakh worth of deposit, and about 20 lakh worth of the capex, and plus 5 lakh is other expenses like franchisee fees and other POS and other things set up. So this is how roughly the cost structure works. And what we are saying is, the investment which you do for the deposit and the inventory, you get your investment back after the 5 years. Same investment, whatever you are putting now, you will get it after 5 years.
Definitely, Gaganji. And just to maybe add, friends, as far as the investment in the inventory is concerned, that is something which is refunded back to a franchise partner at the end of the tenure of the term. While the minimum guarantee that you get is on the overall investment that you do, which includes the investment on the inventory. And Gaganji, is that also inclusive of the deposits which are made?
Yes. Deposit also we refund back after the end of the tenure of the lease.
All right. So if we talk about say 75 odd lakhs, this translates to about 9 lakhs in absolute terms, right? Now, let's understand also the revenue share structure, which as we even spoke about is higher, and our per square feet efficiency sales at our current locations are doing is much higher than some of the peers in the industry or otherwise, as far as retail is concerned. So would you want to give maybe a little glimpse of, what would a monthly throughput of a store would look like? And also, how long would it take for a store to reach that level? If I say, it does almost about, say, 20-30 lakhs, depending on where we are operating. So how long does it take typically for a store to reach that level of optimum sales?
Yeah, sure. So I will give you an example. Recently we have opened one store in Orbit Goregaon. So that store is profitable from day one. And that store, the rent is lower compared to what we are asking here, but it is profitable from day one. So, we are doing about 15 to 20 lakhs worth of sale from the day one, monthly sale. So, the kind of projection we have done, what we think is the franchisee will get about 1,30,000 to 1,40,000 rupees per month as a revenue share for the investment they put in. Or if we don't do that much of sale, then it is 75,000 minimum guarantee which kicks in. So as I've told you, these are conservative projections, and we definitely want to create a win-win proposition. And our gross margin basically provides us an opportunity so that we can offer higher revenue share to the customer. That's why we are going for that.
Okay. Now, Gaganji, I think I also wanted to understand, while a franchise partner would be a passive investor, would there be any kind of involvement that you would want, his involvement maybe pre or post the operations of an outlet? Is there something where he's required to put in, his time?
The only thing is, if it is a franchisee owned, then initially to identify the location, to do the agreements and other thing, we would need franchisee support. Otherwise, in terms of investments, rest of the thing will be taken care by us. So if it is a franchisee owned, then only they have to put in some amount of efforts. Otherwise, there is no involvement and no efforts from the franchisee end is required. So we will manage everything for them.
Now, Gaganji, the other question comes in because operations are taken care by you. What kind of and how do we give a visibility to a franchisee in terms of sales that we do?
So visibility, we are saying that we have put in the conservative number, and those numbers are reflected in our books of accounts. So generally, if anybody wants to come and discuss, we can show them the approximate numbers. And POS is there, which is connected, which is a sacrosanct number. And most of these places, we are paying revenue share. Like in Orbit Goregaon, we are paying revenue share. In Mumbai Airport store, we are paying revenue share. So we are exceeding every month. That's how the revenue share is coming into picture. Right. So we are not paying MMG, we are paying revenue share. So I think comfort wise, right now we have said that we have given the conservative number, but if anybody wants to discuss anything specific, some amount of seasonality is also involved in our business. The second half of the financial year is generally good compared to the first half, and there are various discount or various sale seasons are there. So keeping those things in mind, it will vary to some extent, but the overall basis, we made sure that we offer a good proposition to the franchisee.
And I'll take one question, and Amit, I'll request if you have any questions and if you want to ask, please feel free. And typical timeline, from the day that we sign up and, find a location, typically what is the timeline for us to start the operations or launch?
I think Kapil, you want to take it?
So, Sonia ji, anywhere between 60 to 120 days, depending on the readiness of the location. So we take about 45 days to turn around a store through fit out period.
Mm-hmm.
Parallelly, the inventory is worked on, parallelly, the staffing is worked on, parallelly, all the other things are worked on. Why I say 60 days is because 15 days prior to that, the agreements are worked on. So at best, we can turn around in 60 days. And at times it may take about 120 days if a mall is probably, making available location for us. So they may have a current tenant there. Turnaround time for that tenant maybe 2 months. And then we take the 2 months post that. So anywhere between 60 to 120 days is what, depending on the readiness of the location.
So, and would you want to, in the interest of every audience, those locations that we are currently looking at, while I understand these are all top cities that we want to be in, but if you want to prioritize and say which would be 5 or 6 cities or locations where perhaps we want to go as a priority.
So, Bombay, definitely, because we're very strong as a brand in Bombay. The brand awareness is very strong. Delhi, Noida, basically the NCR belt when I talk about Delhi. So, really Bombay, the NCR belt. We see Hyderabad technically because we've got a store in Hyderabad airport. So, brand awareness prevails. We'll use that strength and in orbit Hyderabad, which is in Hyderabad, that could be. So, the idea is, we want to use strengths where we already are. So from day one, the store can be profitable rather than, nursing a store and getting it to profitability. And these are tried tested markets where we've got presence in a shop and shop. So like in ShoppersStop, Hyderabad, we have presence. So we know the potential of the consumer. So Hyderabad remains one, Kolkata remains another area, NCR remains another area, Bombay remains another area, Lucknow remains another area, Pune remains another area. So these 6 to 7 cities, we are, even Ahmedabad actually, we are ready to go right away, and we know from day one they can be profitable.
Wonderful. And friends, this would be top malls where we would be able to help you, get these locations, including maybe Phoenix, even Mall of India, so to say, and Elante in Orbit. So these are some malls that has been identified by the company, and we would more than happy to share more details one-to-one and also offline post the webinar. And I like to also introduce Amit Sharma, who's leading the entire project on behalf of both Franchise India and Tresmode, who will be reaching out to every single investor who has shown interest and also registered for the webinar. And before I close, Amit, if you have anything that you want to ask, and I also see a question from Manish, if you want to take that up for everyone. And then I'll request both Kapilji and Gaganji, if you have a closing remark and a message that you want to give to everybody listening to you.
Ma'am, I think all the parameters and the aspects have already covered in that case. But yes, I'll have a discussion, one-to-one discussion about the GST uses. I mean, are we going to use that franchisee GST number in that case and the stock transfers? So that the terms I need to understand, I'll discuss it with Gaganji.
Wonderful. So I'll take a question Manish has asked. Is there a lock-in period also, Kapilji, Gaganji, want to answer for a franchise partner in the agreement?
Yeah. There will be a lock-in period, we are looking for about 3 years as a lock-in period.
All right. Wonderful. Helpful.
And one more thing, Gaganji, I just want to understand, I mean, what are the other liabilities on franchise? Is there, any liability on stock pilferage or something? I mean, because he is not be there, so I don't think he'll get an
Amit, so there is no liability on the franchisee in the model we spoke about, right? Also, in terms of the lock-in period, although it's 3 years, which we're going to enforce them, but we will figure out an equation which we allow them to exit even after 2 years, right? But then in that case, they'll probably get a return far lower. So they won't lose money, but the return will be far lower than the returns we spoke about today. So we'll make it as flexible as possible to the people, because again, it's like a franchisee owned company operated, right? So we don't want anyone to be stuck in if they don't want to be stuck into it, right? But they'll have to take a beating on the returns. I'm not saying they'll lose money. They will not lose money, but the returns won't be as attractive as they are today.
Absolutely. That really helps. And friends, we'll also put our hotline number, our email ID. Anybody who wants to reach out to us for any further information, some of you have asked for a presentation. And I'll also request that post the webinar, anybody who wants to request for a physical meeting or maybe a meeting that we can do via Zoom or telephonically, you can reach out to us. And Kapilji, before we close, any message which you want to share? And Gaganji, aap bhi koi message सारे audience को आप share करना चाहते हैं?
Sonia ji, I'd like to thank everyone for participating, and I'd like to thank the Franchise India team for organizing. It's been a pleasure. and look forward to many such going forward and many partners coming on board, because the first set of franchisees who we sign off with, who would become the founding franchisee members, we definitely have the terms what we've rolled out today are far more lucrative, which may not remain on the next set of franchisees we give out, because at the end of the day, these were the people who helped us set it up and get it going. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kapilji. Gaganji.
Yeah, so I think yesterday I spoke with Amit also. So he was asking about the fit out and whether franchisee can do fit out from their end, and also those things we will discuss. As a brand, we want to maintain certain benchmark or certain quality assurance. So those things can be discussed and worked out. So we are not fussy about it. We can definitely discuss and sort that out.
Wonderful.
So thank you
Sure, sir. Thank
everyone for attending this, and we are definitely there for any of your queries.
Yes, sure. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Harshika, over to you for your closing remarks, please.
Thank you so much, Sonia ma'am. Thank you so much, Gaganji and Kapilji, for this wonderful presentation discussion about the brand Tresmode. So team, as we are running our Bharat franchise show, that's an evening series. Today we are doing the brands from the FOCO models. So FOCO model, we are inviting the brands called Keva Box, Ice Deal, India Sweet House, Microgravity, Tresmode, and Masala Story. To know more about this business opportunities, we have shared the registration link over the chat box. You can also reach us on our hotline number 9717683838. Also, you can write us on feedback@franchiseindia.in. Tomorrow, again for you, we are bringing a great brand called Luxon, men's premium inner and athleisure brand from the House of Lux Industries Limited. For the registration, you can also call us on our hotline number 9717683838. Registration link also sent over the chat box. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the webinar.
Thank you.